Q, can we test your audio?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Great.
Okay, you're gonna do co-host? Yeah.
Yes, I want to do that. Not seeing the option. Let me just. Dina, can we test your audio?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, Q, let me work on that.
You go under participants, under my name to the right.
Just me a co-host. I'm not. Hold on one. There it is. It should have worked. Q, did you get a notification?
Yes.
Dina, do you want to try to share your screen with the presentation?
Okay.
It's clear.
Oh, I'm just going to leave it up, Rachel, just so since it's first.
That makes sense.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will be starting in just a few minutes. Well, good evening once again, and welcome to the New York State Homeowner Assistance Fund Plan public hearing. My name is Reverend Dr. Q English, and I am the Deputy Director of Faith-Based Initiatives in the Governor's Office of Faith and Community Development Services. So tonight, we're going to introduce this critical program which aims to assist homeowners across New York who may be at risk due to the COVID pandemic. And New York State Homes and Community Renewal, also known as HCR, has been directed to administer this program on behalf of the state of New York. So your comments and feedback to what you're about to hear is critical. So thank you for being with us this evening. We know these have been trying times, to say the least. We know many have suffered and are suffering as homeowners to meet the mortgage payment, keep the lights on, and even keep food on the table. We want you to know we understand, and I have to say firsthand that HCR is working diligently to prepare to distribute what has been given by federal. That's why your presence tonight is appreciated, and we are looking forward to hearing your comments after the presentation. Unfortunately, we are not able to answer questions directly pertaining to this plan, as this is a draft plan and we are waiting on additional guidance from Treasury. But we will be able to hear your comments at the end of the presentation, and more importantly, you're going to be able to send them via email, and we'll give you further instructions later. So at this time, you're going to remain muted until the end of the presentation, and we'll be given space then to speak. So today, I am very proud to work alongside someone who I think is extraordinary, and one who is passionate in this space, particularly for New York State underserved communities, including communities of color, and one who has been strategizing with others on how to best allocate these funds. And that's none other than the Senior Vice President of Homes and Community Renewal, Dina Levy.
Thank you so much, Q. And just let me reiterate what Q said. Thank you so much for joining. You know, it's 5:30, folks are busy, but we wanted to share this with all of you and give the public an opportunity to respond, both verbally tonight. And again, we're going to keep urging you to please submit your comments and your questions in writing. As Q said, we might not be able to answer questions this evening as we wait for additional guidance, but as we get that guidance, we will do our best to answer all questions. So with that, I'm going to take us through the condensed version of the plan. I think by now folks know that the full plan is also available on our website for review. What we're covering tonight is available in multiple languages on our website. And we're just going to take a few minutes and run through sort of highlights of the plan as it is now in draft form. Okay. So I think most everybody probably knows that these are funds that came through federal legislation that passed earlier this year as part of the American Rescue Plan. It is a $10 billion program nationally, of which the U.S. Department of Treasury has been directed to oversee and administer the program and has made the determination about how much each state will get. For the purposes of how the funds can be used, the Treasury guidance that has been issued so far lists a series of interventions that are eligible under the HAF program. They include, but are not limited to, helping homeowners satisfy mortgage arrears or providing principal reduction. That's particularly important for folks who may be back to work but at a reduced income. The Treasury guidance also allows us to address property tax arrears, which includes things like sewer and water bills that might have gone into delinquency during COVID. It allows for funds to go to pay for insurance and utility arrears. It allows for homeowners who may live in a co-op or a condo and who have fallen behind on their HOA or their maintenance fees to also be addressed. The program does require that an applicant establish that they endured a financial hardship as a direct result of COVID, which is defined as a material increase in living expenses or a material decrease in income. So a bit more about what the guidance offers. So New York State has been appropriated just under $540 million for this program. There is an allowance of up to 15% of funds to go towards administrative expenses. I do want to say we are working hard to keep that those costs in New York well below the 15%. We're hoping to cap administrative expenses at under 10%. A portion of the funds can be used to support housing, counseling, and legal services providers in a limited capacity as it relates to getting applications into the HAF program. Additionally, Treasury is requiring that 60% of funds go to families or individuals who earn less than 100% of the area median income. Folks may or may not know, area median income is different depending on where you are in the state. And typically there are, like by county or by region, you can find what your AMIs are. And we do have information on our website about every county's AMI. But here on the slide, you can see 4 examples for a family of 3, what 100% of area median income equates to in New York City, in Buffalo, in Rochester, and in Albany. Additionally, Treasury is requiring that 40% of the funds be targeted to families who meet or individuals who meet the definition of socially disadvantaged. That is a technical definition that exists in the Code of Federal Regulations. It largely equates to populations who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice. There's a slightly longer definition, which folks could look up, and we've put a citation for where you can find that definition. Regardless of those 2 categories, all applicants must be below 150% of AMI, area median income, in order to qualify for the program. So in terms of how we envision administering the program, We were directed by the state legislature to engage a community development financial institution as part of the operations of the program. For those of you who don't know what a CDFI or community development financial institution is, they tend to be not-for-profit organizations that work in financial and lending space. We ran a competitive request for proposals at HCR to identify a CDFI partner. We shared that request for proposals with all CDFIs that are legally operating in New York State. We received in response 3 submissions, and then a committee within HCR graded the applications, and that committee unanimously selected an organization called Sustainable Neighborhoods LLC. Sustainable Neighborhoods is an affiliate of the nonprofit organization, the Center for New York City Neighborhoods. For those of you who are not familiar, the Center for New York City Neighborhoods was created in 2008 as a direct response to the earlier foreclosure crisis. They started primarily in New York City, but quickly expanded and grew to become a wraparound service agency that serves families and individuals of basically homeowners across the state of New York. Since they were created in 2008, they've managed over $325 million in state and local grant programs specifically related to homeownership preservation and foreclosure mitigation. They were the stewards of a program called the New York State Mortgage Assistance Program, or MAP, which was a precursor to what we're offering under HAF. Very similar program, again, back during the last foreclosure crisis. That was about $100 million funded by Attorney General settlement dollars. So we are very grateful to have Sustainable Neighborhoods and the Center for New York City Neighborhoods on board as a partner, particularly in light of the fact that they have this depth of experience from the last crisis. And finally, HDR and Sustainable Neighborhoods will work with the Homeowner Protection Program, or the HOP network. This is also a coalition of legal services and housing counseling agencies that was established in 2012 through funding offered from the Attorney General, again, directly related to the last foreclosure crisis. They are a statewide affiliation, and they serve virtually every county in the state. So this is a slide that sort of lays out a picture of what homeownership looks like in New York State, and it's not specific to COVID. It sort of just gives you a sense at a regional level of the volume of homeownership. We've broken this out by the Regional Economic Development Council areas, which are these 10 regions across New York State. So you can see what the homeownership levels and rates are in each region. Sort of takeaway points, I think, that are important is that there are nearly 4 million owner-occupied homeowners residing in the state of New York. The lowest rate of homeownership is in New York City at 32.7%, and the highest is in Long Island at 80.6%. That said, it's worth noting that in New York City, 50% of all homeowners are households of color, and by that standard would meet the definition of socially disadvantaged. So that brings us to how we're thinking about the different types of homeowners that may be in need of assistance through the HAF program, and how we came to design our proposed interventions. So we generally see this as 5 market segments. The first are homeowners who have mortgages, who have been in forbearance, which means their lender has offered and actually been required in some cases under state and federal law to allow homeowners to pause on making their monthly mortgage and payments. It does not lead to a delinquency. So while you're in forbearance, you are not technically considered in default or delinquent on your mortgage. We know that a lot of homeowners went into forbearance, and many are going to be coming out soon. Some have already come out, and those that need assistance in addressing those arrears or have a curtailed income and need assistance with their principal in terms of reducing their monthly payment, we think HAF will be a very important intervention for them. The next are homeowners who have mortgages, but who, for whatever reason, did not go into forbearance. This is going to be a little bit of a harder category just because it will be a lot of sort of figuring out why that happened and why a homeowner didn't get the option to go into forbearance. Did they, were they not properly informed by their servicer? Was it just unclear, or were there language barriers? So we're not really sure at this moment why some folks didn't go into forbearance, but we definitely want to make sure we're addressing those folks, as they will be considered delinquent. And when foreclosure and eviction moratoriums are lifted, they will be certainly at the top of the list in terms of need. The next is homeowners who do not have a mortgage, but may be delinquent on things like property taxes, water, and insurance. This would be also including seniors who are in a reverse mortgage and may have fallen behind on property taxes and are now in default or delinquent on their reverse mortgage. We again think that there is a fairly large number of homeowners who may be in this situation and will be certainly able to benefit from HAF. The next are those homeowners who live in co-ops and or condos. And again, many of the cooperators and condo owners in New York may or may not have a mortgage, but may have during COVID as an impact of economic loss of, as a result of loss of economic income, may have fallen behind on their HOA or maintenance fees. This will also be an eligible use. It can be paired with mortgage assistance if a borrower or if a homeowner has both a mortgage and is delinquent on their HOA or maintenance. And then the last are those manufactured home owners who may live in manufactured home communities or manufactured home parks. We know that this class of homeowner, who tends to be very low income, I think never has access to a traditional mortgage, but they do have other types of housing debt, things like chattel loans and retail installment contracts. We know that that is going to be a particularly acute problem for folks who fall behind on those types of home financing. And so we will certainly be working with that population as well. So this is a sort of summary or a roll up of just high level data that is available. I do want to say, obviously Treasury has asked us to be very specific in our needs assessment and putting forward multiple data sets. These numbers are not necessarily reflective of what we think will be the volume of applications that we will get through HAF, but we tried to use a fairly wide lens in looking at what the population of eligible homeowners might be, and then what we know about public data, what we think some of the delinquencies or arrearages may be. Again, we think this may be a fairly high estimate. And the one piece of data that is not frankly available to us is people's current income. That's just not a data set that we're able to get. Though I will say these numbers date back to January 2021. There have been a couple reports more recently, I think in June, one from the Department of Labor and one from the Mortgage Bankers Association, that do imply some of these statistics are getting better. So jobs have been increasing. We think more folks are back to work. And we also know that forbearance has been decreasing marginally. So this gives just a sort of, again, high level view of what we think the population of folks who may be eligible under the Treasury guidance, which again, that column means that they are below 100% of AMI, or that they're below 150% of AMI and meet the definition of socially disadvantaged. So that brings us to the interventions. So the first is the mortgage reinstatement / principal reduction program. This is primarily going to be targeted to homeowners who are exiting forbearance or who, as I described earlier, for whatever reason, were not offered or did not get into a forbearance agreement and are now considered delinquent on their mortgage. The sizing for this will be based on what the homeowner needs in order to get into a stable outcome on their mortgage. So that would include, again, covering arrearages, assisting on helping borrowers achieve a loss mitigation option that's being offered by the loan owner, or reducing principal in order to make the monthly mortgage payment more affordable. The cap for this intervention will be up to $50,000 per homeowner, and eligible applicants must be at risk, demonstrate that there are not other reasonable options, and also demonstrate an ability to pay going forward after the HAF assistance is dispensed. The second program is we're calling arrears satisfaction. It's being offered on the same terms as the previous intervention. Here again, we think this will be for homeowners who do not have a mortgage, but who are delinquent on their property taxes or on their co-op or condo fees, or if they are a manufactured homeowner who is delinquent on a chattel loan or other type of retail installment contract. Here too, the cap on a per borrower basis will be up to $50,000 and size based on the actual arrears owed. And eligible applicants must demonstrate that they are at risk, have no other affordable options for repayment, and demonstrate an ability to pay going forward. And that brings us to the last intervention. So you'll notice in the last two, we talked about an ability to pay going forward. We are concerned that there will be some borrowers who are not back to their full employment or perhaps lost family members and therefore lost family income. And for those families, we want to offer the opportunity to buy additional time. So this last intervention can be paired with either of the other two interventions. And again, it will be for borrowers who are either severely underemployed or remain unemployed at the time that they seek assistance. We will be trying to leverage this funding source with additional funds that were appropriated to HCR through HUD under the CARES Act, which was a previous bill passed by Congress to address the COVID pandemic. And so we will be pulling funds from that other program into this program in order to expand the number of families we can provide this assistance to. Eligible applicants must be demonstrate that they were below 80% of the area median income prior to COVID. And applicants will be capped at 6 months of forward payments. That is a requirement under the federal guidance. This program is called the Community Development Block Grant Program. And under that program, HUD is capping our ability to make prospective payments to no more than 6 consecutive months going forward. So this is a very detailed actually map. It's a little confusing to look at, but our data science team did an amazing job really honing in on where we think eligible homeowners across the state are concentrated, both in terms of income eligibility and the definition of socially disadvantaged. So on the map, the shaded areas are those places where we think there are high numbers of homeowners who meet those one or the other definition, socially disadvantaged or low income defined by less than 100% of AMI. And then in the smaller map, you can see that there are an outline that overlays with those shaded areas. Those are locations where we believe there is a high amount of homeowner distress. And so, right, we are looking to see how those two data sets line up. And you can see the results is, there are 5,000 census tracts in New York State. Of those, basically about 2,100 identified as both high volume of income or otherwise eligible applicants, where there are also high levels of homeownership distress. This will be very critical for us in terms of outreach and making sure that we are targeting from all of our marketing and our outreach efforts where we know these borrowers are and where we think folks who are most in need are finding out about the program. So that brings us to methods of targeting individuals and how we're going to communicate about the program once it launches. We've already discussed the Legal Services and Housing Counseling Network, also known as HAF. We are certainly aware that they have boots on the ground. Many of these offices are located in the same target areas we just discussed in the previous map. Many of them have been doing this work for many, many years and will be super helpful in terms of not only promoting the program and getting the word out, but also assisting potential applicants with document collection and getting their applications submitted. We will also be dedicating a fair amount of time and effort to both paid and earned media outreach. So that will include things like social media, press releases, potential paid advertising if there are target areas that we feel are being underreached. And we will be asking all of our network partners, both within HOP and broader than that, just in the affordable housing community generally, and in the faith-based and other types of stakeholder communities, to assist in getting the word out to their constituents about the program. We are also considering an additional layer of grassroots outreach if we, particularly again, if we find that we are not getting applications from areas where we think there is a high level of need. And these could be locally based organizations who, again, are on the ground, can do a very high level grassroots outreach. That may include things like door knocking, seminars, public meetings, doing day-long events at public spaces like libraries and community centers. And so, this could be a critical way to make sure we are reaching homeowners who might not otherwise know about the program. And then the last piece is just sort of what we're doing tonight, only we'll be doing it more interactively in the future, which is ongoing communications and webinars with different stakeholder groups. We have already offered to a large group that Q helped pull together, the faith-based leaders offering to do more direct webinars like this in a more interactive way with constituents. If anybody listening tonight wants to offer recommendations for who else we should be reaching out to do these more intimate and interactive presentations, we are very anxious to hear it, but we will be doing these throughout the run of the program. Q, you're typing.
Okay.
I'm almost done. So the last is just a couple words on application submission. So we will be creating with the Sustainable Neighborhoods an online portal. That portal we hope will be very user friendly, will be accessible from a phone, from a tablet, from a desktop computer, and will hopefully make it very easy for applicants to submit and to get into the process. There will also be referrals, as I mentioned, coming from those who wish to apply from HAF, and we'll add a layer of support for folks, particularly if they're struggling with getting their applications together. There will be a well-resourced hotline, which will be multilingual, as will all our marketing materials. And for folks who do not have good access to the internet, they will be able to submit applications through a proxy connection at the hotline. So clearly no applicant who wants to seek HAF funding will be turned away because they don't have access to the internet. They will be able to do it through a proxy at the hotline. Time to launch. There has been one change here since we created this slide, which I'll talk about in a second. We published both the full plan and the summary that we're covering tonight in multiple languages on the website on June 15th. We have been hosting, as I mentioned, a series of stakeholder meetings and webinars with stakeholders in addition to this public meeting or public hearing. We had initially hoped and were encouraged by Treasury to then have the draft plan revised based on the public comment and submitted to Treasury by June 30th. We have just gotten word that Treasury is expected to come out with additional guidance and may be pushing back the June 30th deadline. We don't know exactly when. I will say HCR is very committed to moving as quickly as possible to get the plan into Treasury in order to be able to get to the launch of the program. But we are sort of in a position where we do need to see what additional guidance Treasury is going to be coming out with, and we hope that will be happening ostensibly this week. We will then, once the plan is submitted, take a couple of months. Hopefully we'll be primarily focused in July and August on just getting all of the systems, all of the staffing, all of the technology up and functioning, as well as completing all of the policies and procedures and starting the marketing campaign to get word out to folks. And then again, the great hope is to launch the program writ large in early September. So that is the presentation. I am going to stop sharing the screen now, Q, and I'm going to turn it over, I think, to you. How do I stop sharing this?
Okay. Thank you, Dina. Yeah.
Wait. I'm sorry. I just wanted to reiterate one point. So I'm going to stop sharing. I do want to say again, we understand this is a lot of information and there's a lot to share. We really wanted to use tonight to hear from you and to give folks an opportunity to share their comments both with us and publicly. We really urge you to submit whatever comments you provide tonight, or if you choose not to speak tonight, that you submit your comments to us at the email address that's posted on our website. As a reminder, that is HAF, as in Homeowner Assistance Fund, at nyshcr.org. Oops, How did that happen? And again, it's on our website. So I don't know what's happened here, Q, but I've lost the ability to take this down.
You lost the ability to do what?
Here, I'm just trying to get out of the. Okay, sorry, I don't know why. I just wanted to take down the screen share. So anyway, please submit your questions and your comments in writing, and we will do our best to both address them in the plan and respond to questions when we have complete guidance from Treasury. And with that, Q, I really will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dina. Yeah, I was actually typing to make sure I didn't forget to mention something as well. So I know some of you are eager to lend comments, and again, this is why you are here. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to give 2 separate instructions. If you are online, then raise your hands by going to the smiley face you see on the bottom far right, labeled reactions, which once you hit it, and then choose raise hand. And when it's your turn, you will be asked to unmute yourself. For those who dialed in by phone, to raise your hand, hit *3 or *3. And when it's your turn, those who have dialed in by phone, you will be asked to unmute yourself. For this, you hit *6. So *3, raise your hand, and *6 to unmute. And lastly, in order to allow as many people as possible to comment within the time allotted to this webinar, we are asking that you please be as concise as possible with your comments, because you're only going to have 1 minute to do so. So don't think of me as rude when I have to cut you off. If we have more time, we can always circle back, but we strongly urge everyone to put your questions and comments in writing at any length and share them through email, as Dina has shared, haf@nyshcr.org. So Rachel, we can begin. So again, you go down, you see the smiley face, and she's going to unmute you.
We have a couple hands. Let's start with S. Mills. I'm going to send a request where you'll be able to unmute yourself. Okay, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have the floor.
I just had a few comments, which are that this is a terrific program, and it's kudos to you folks for having gotten together as much as you've gotten. I'm from Legal Aid, and we're looking forward to working with you and with the housing counselors to implement it. And I will defer to the next speaker.
Okay. We're ready for our next speaker.
Yeah, we have someone by phone who has their hand up. I'm gonna send you a request to unmute yourself. You should get a notification by phone that I've done that, so you know it's you. Go ahead now and hit *6, and you'll have the floor.
And that star is that little asterisk. Have you got it? Okay, go ahead.
I got it. Yes.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, I heard about median income in New York, and I think I heard 100 to 150%. So I was wondering what that average number is, and how do we get updates, or how do we know when to apply?
Okay, that would be for Dina, if you can unmute. There we go.
So again, Q, we're not going to answer questions during this forum, so everybody gets an opportunity, but your question is very clear. And if you would just submit that in writing to the email address, we will absolutely do our best to respond. We just, as I said, are making sure that all the Treasury guidance is complete before we start answering final questions. And so all of that information will be forthcoming. And if you email us, we will email you back.
Got it.
I don't see any other hands up for now, actually. Give it a couple minutes.
We just scroll to the right.
Got one. We just got one. Michelle Ortega. I just sent you a request to unmute yourself. You can go ahead now and take yourself off of mute.
Hi, yes. I was wondering about the arrears. If the 80% AMI previous to the pandemic was mandated by Treasury, or if that was something that was determined on the state level.
Again, if you would submit the question in writing to HAF at nyshcr.org, we will do our best to be very responsive to the question.
So at this time, we're looking just to take comments. And again, you can make your questions and your comments as long as you'd like in that email that you send. But as we said, we are still waiting on Treasury. So please bear with us as we take one comment at a time from now, from moving forward, if we can just have comments. Will there be any more? Do you see any more, Rachel?
I don't see any more hands up right now.
Okay. Again, we're waiting on further guidance from Treasury. So if at this time you can just take a moment just to jot down the email, we absolutely want to hear from you. We also want to encourage you that if you have other groups or coalitions that you'd like us to present to, please reach out to us directly. I'm going to give you two emails. One is for the questions and comments that you can submit to HAF, and it's very simple. It's HAF@nyshcr.org. And if you'd like to continue this conversation within other groups, please email me at q.english@nyshcr.org. And my name is spelled QUE.English, like the language, at nyshcr.org. Any other questions at this time, Rachel? Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining us. Trust this has been helpful to you. We're looking forward to providing further information in the days ahead. This has absolutely been helpful to us as well. Have an amazing evening. Thank you.